So we have next somebody who really comes with ideas and is going to talk to us about sustainable housing as well as radically different options for low-cost housing in the new world. And so Bill Gross, who is the chairman and CEO of Idealab, is going to come up and talk a little bit about the things that he sees and the things that he does and how we can be disruptive in our own thoughts.
Thank you very much. Well, it's really an honor to be here, and I'd like to talk to you about something that I'm extremely passionate about, and that's radical low-cost housing for the developing world. I think we can make a huge impact there. Go ahead. My dream is to give every family in the world a dignified and safe home for under $2,000. These are some of the homes that people are living in right now that could be impacted greatly if they just had a safe place to live in with lighting so their children can study at night, and to have a place that they don't have to move from town to town each year after, say, the monsoons come or after floods or earthquakes come and wipe out the houses that they've built. In India alone, there are 500 million people who need better housing. And there's 100 million people who live in slums. And that's just in India alone. So think about across the whole world how many people are living in substandard housing. I was first inspired to do this because of a company I had started. I have a company called Idealab in Pasadena. It's a technology incubator. And in 2008, we started a solar energy company called eSolar. It was to build large-scale renewable energy solar power plants. We built one in Southern California. General Electric invested in the company and helped us build a plant in Turkey, and we were building a plant in India. While we were building this plant in India, I saw some of the homes that people were living in who were the workers working on the plant. These homes, quotes around the word homes, were basically twigs thrown together with discarded plastic sheeting, and yet still they had scrounged a solar panel and an old truck battery so they would have some energy to charge their cell phone. And this thing was so temporary and so fragile, and yet I saw the wages that the workers were making, and they could easily afford $10 a month for a home if only someone would offer them something that they could purchase that would have a long enough life. And that really got me thinking about how could we do that. So I went back to our lab in Pasadena, and I looked at a whole bunch of different ideas of ways that we could try to do this, and I found 20 that didn't work before we finally found something that did. And some of the things we tried at first were to make modular prefabricated housing, or to use corrugated concrete panels, or to use foam and concrete panels. Everything I kept looking at didn't meet our price point. We were trying to hit under $2,000 because our goal was to be able to sell a home for $200 down payment, 10% down, and then $10 a month. Because that was something that the people who were earning the wages could afford, just no one was offering that to them. So after trying all these things for 2 years, I learned 3 big lessons, and those lessons were, first, you can't afford to ship air. If you want to build a home in any kind of prefab situation, just the cost to transport it, that volume of air to the site would cost $5,000. So the whole budget was blown just by the shipping cost if we wanted to ship something that was prefabricated. Even if you take it apart and disassemble it, even the air in the walls is too much to ship because shipping air costs $2 a cubic foot. So there's no way we're going to hit our price point if we tried to ship anything that we built in a factory in advance. So that was the first lesson we learned. Next, we had to use local materials for at least 90% of the house. 10% of the house could be shipped in, so we could send the steel beams in that we wanted to use for reinforcement. We could send the windows in, the solar panel, things like that. 10%, but 90% had to come locally. And then finally, we had to use the engineering principle, less is more. We had to find a way to use less materials, less concrete, less dirt, less steel, less everything, because every single atom that you use has a cost. And if you want to hit this radical price point of $2,000, you just have to use fewer atoms. So you have to use those atoms very intelligently. You have to structure them in very clever ways to get the strength that you need. So here's what we came up with. It's a house that gets built in only 10 days. The bricks are hollow bricks that are interlocking Lego blocks that are made on site, that have a hole down the center of them that steel rebar beams go into, that connect the roof to the foundation, and you pour concrete in those holes afterwards to stiffen the whole thing up so it can withstand an 8.0 earthquake and any monsoon. We made a hollow, lightweight truss structure roof made out of bent metal, almost like coat hangers, but all spot welded together with foam in the middle and then concrete on the surface and on the bottom. We end up with a roof that is 1/10 the weight of a concrete slab, 2 times the strength, light enough to be able to lift it on top of the house by the people who are building the house, but also strong enough to support a 2-story or even a 3-story house. The next page you can see what the whole house looks like when complete. So this is a family of 5 living in the first house that we built in Chennai, India earlier this year. It was finished in January. The family is loving it right now. They're paying their $10 a month and they're very, very excited about this. And this has caused all kinds of additional demand. Our next slide, you can see some of the specific features. The interlocking bricks are so thick that they keep the house 10 degrees cooler than a traditional house. And we have a whole bunch of other things built in to allow the extension of the house, both to extend it in the back, but also to extend it up. As people earn more money and they want to have more families either live with them or more family members live with them, they can expand the house. Some of the amenities that are included are a built-in solar panel on the roof. We have an internal fan and LCD TV. We have a high-efficiency stove that is vented to the outside, so all the fumes from the stove when people are cooking indoors don't pollute the indoor environment. And we have LED lighting built into the ceiling to achieve that first goal that I had in mind, to allow children to be able to study at night from the battery storage from the solar panel that we have on the roof. Our next goal is to build many more of these. We have a whole bunch of demand for individual rural homes, but we're even getting demand for a tighter village system. On the next slide, you can see what we want to do first is someone came to us and wants to build a 100-unit community with all of these tied together in one location. We're very excited about this. Our goals going forward are to build 200 homes this year, 2,000 homes next year, 20,000 homes in 2014, and by the end of the decade, to house 1 million families. If we can house 1 million families, I would feel so proud about this project that we started and the impact that it can have. Oh, thank you. The one thing I want to say after being so humbled by all the presentations I heard earlier today and by the question about what can each of us do, I'm a mechanical engineer. I didn't know how I could really make any impact on people elsewhere in the world. But then when I saw this problem, I was able to apply my skills, my unique skills, to try and solve this engineering problem. And I was so excited to be able to apply those. And I think about every brain in this audience and their own unique skills and how they can make an impact. It's so exciting to see this kind of crowd together here, and I so look forward to talking to you later today about things we could possibly do together. If any of you have any ideas about partners that we can use to help us expand this beyond India, people who can help us provide the financing for this, or anything that you can do related to this, I'd love you to contact me. My email address is bill@idealab.com. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience.